it, Larry, because you're determined to get it.
Quiet, please. Center.
These athletes are blind and visually impaired, and the sport that they're playing is goalball. Goalball was first developed after World War II as a way of rehabilitating German soldiers who had lost their vision in combat. Goalball is played with 2 teams of 3 people on an indoor court which is close to the size of a basketball court. A player takes a goalball, which is a partially deflated rubber ball with bells inside, and he rolls it to the other team's net. The players dive onto the ground and block the ball, where they have 8 seconds to send it back the other way. There are 2 7-minute periods, and 2 referees officiate a game. Referees must be fully sighted and licensed with the International Blind Sports Association. Goalball is presently played in 35 countries, including Kuwait, Russia, Israel, Egypt, and in 1990, Jordan picked up the game. Some players, classified as blind, can actually see some shapes, colors, or shadows, so every goalball player, blind or visually impaired, must wear eye shades which totally block their vision. This prevents the visually impaired players from enjoying an advantage. Goalball is unique because it is one of the few sports in the world where coaches cannot communicate with their players while the game is in progress. This prevents them from telling their players where the ball is.
The ball was hitting my arm. I couldn't believe it.
During goalball games, spectators have to be quiet. The game is designed to suit the players, not the audience. The players have to listen for the sound of the ball. Goalball is a sport for good listeners. That is the best way to sum it up. Goalball players don't see with their eyes, but they see with their other senses. Is it really a tragedy to go blind?
Well, I started losing my eyesight in 1978. And, well, it was pretty shocking because at the time I was working in photography, and that was the one profession that I needed my eyesight to work. And I guess I went through symptoms that anybody losing eyesight, you know, not knowing what the future was going to hold and knowing that I had to get trained in something to hold a job and make a living.
I lost my eyesight in the month of November of '87 from an infection in the optic nerve. And I basically woke up one morning and my sight was lost totally. So I did not lose my sight gradually, and no, I was not born blind. When you're sighted, you take a lot of things for granted. You do not think of the fact of going blind or even getting in the car and being an invalid the rest of your life 5 minutes later. You don't think of it, and you take a lot of things for granted. And you find all this out after it's gone.
I was going to have a contract with one of the major league baseball teams. I used to play baseball in Caracas, and I was a pitcher. And many times also I was playing as a center field. I had speed, and I combined several things, and people liked my style, and also I was getting winning games. And I lost my sight after a game. There were some journalists in front of me, and they were interviewing me. And unfortunately, somebody was practicing very close. And this person threw a very hard ball, and the ball went to the back of my head. I went home, took a shower, went to sleep, and when I woke up, I was not able to see.
I learned that I was going blind. It didn't affect me that much. First of all, having glaucoma, and having been diagnosed with having glaucoma at an early stage, I knew that it was going to happen. So when it started to happen, it did not really affect me to the point where I was frustrated. To me, blindness is a disadvantage. It's not a handicap.
My name is Kevin Kaminsky. and I've played for the Alberta men's goalball team for 7 years. This will be my 8th season, and I've represented Canada on 6 national teams, starting in 1985, and my most recent occasion was in Calgary for the World Goalball Championships in 1991. I played a lot of hockey as a kid, and when I was 14 years old, I got hit with a slap shot above my left eye. And for some reason, that slap shot was speculated to cause optic nerve atrophy or a damaging of the optic nerve. So as the nerve gradually degenerated, I gradually lost my vision as well. By the time I was about 17 years old, I had lost all of my vision. And that was a very difficult time in that I had a lot of questions that I needed to answer. I was curious whether I'd ever be able to get a job, how I would finish school, whether my friends would disregard me now that I couldn't see, whether I'd ever have a girlfriend or, a family. And I guess over the last 10 or 12 years, I've been answering those questions, and feel extremely comfortable with the fact that I'm blind.
The blind and visually impaired are always welcome on a goalball court. But taking gym in school and being accepted on the school sports teams is often a different story.
When in high school, when they just put me off to the side, I felt like I wasn't involved with the regular kids. I was alone. I was, just abandoned. I didn't have any right to be in that class. I was just somebody that had scheduled a gym, but I was more or less a free period for me. I just got to sit on a bench, and it felt really horrible and awkward. I like physical activity, and I like to play sports, but I wasn't given the opportunity to do anything. The only physical activity I had was when my father used to take me out to a park, and we used to play ball or catch or things like that, but nothing that was organized by the high schools or any public schools.
Well, when I joined high school, I was very athletic when I was younger anyway, so the track team seemed where I could just count on myself, and I knew I could see the lanes. That wouldn't be a problem. So my first year, I did really well. And so I went out for the team for the second year, and I got a school doctor and the school nurse to do the medical exam because it was cheap. And at the same time, she said, "Oh, you can't read the chart. You can't see the lanes. You can't run." Meanwhile, the coach is waiting for me upstairs. "Come on, Patty, let's go. You got to practice. Beat the records that you set last year." And when I told him about it, he immediately went to the principal, and he said, "Look, this is crazy." So what I had to do, I had to back it up with my ophthalmologist note that said that I was completely functional. I would not be cause a safety risk on the field, and there should be no reason why I couldn't. I proved myself last year. The same statement like I made before. It's like you have to prove yourself first, then they find out the disability, and even though you've proved yourself, they still want to knock you down. It's your ability that should have shown, and that's what my coach saw. He saw my ability, and he wanted to go forth. After that, I played all 4 years, varsity the whole year. We were division champs for how many years, won so many races in a row. You want to be an asset rather than just a nobody in the middle of the school.
When I went to grade 13 in a high school in London, I decided that it would be a good opportunity for me to try playing football. I decided not to tell my coaches or any of the players that I had a vision problem because I wanted to see if I could play football on a high school level and be treated as a normal athlete instead of being treated special or even worse, being cut. I was big enough to play a defensive line position, which is easy enough to hide my vision problem, whereas it wouldn't have been as easy if I was to play quarterback or linebacker. So I didn't tell anybody, and I just followed the ball or followed the person with the ball, and it was easy enough to hide.
I've represented the United States in the sport of goalball internationally in 1988 in Seoul, Korea, in the Paralympics, and there we received the silver medal. And I also represented the United States internationally in the Can-Am Games and that was right before Korea. I also represented the United States internationally in an invitational in Sydney, Australia. I ran cross country for my high school, and I had a few problems because I couldn't see too well, and with the sun in my eyes, I'm practically totally blind. So we were running a race my freshman year on our home course, no less, and I should know my home course. And here I am running, I'm running, and I finally, I didn't know where I was going. I got lost. I turned around, and about 10 people from the other team followed me. So we all turned around. They were mad at me, boy. They said, "You lost?" I said, "Yep." Turned around, we went back. I ended up beating all them, and because 10 of them followed me, we kicked their butt. We beat them bad in this meet. And my coach said, "What took you so long?" I said, "Don't ask, but look at who's behind me." So it worked out really well. But usually I did okay. I mean, I was usually able to find my way on the courses.
Blind and visually impaired youth often don't have opportunities to play sports. Goalball coach Sandy White knows this and started a youth program in 1989.
The first day that we ever started this program for kids, here I asked some questions, and there was like maybe 1 out of 12 that had ever ridden a tricycle. There was none that had ever jumped rope, and there was maybe 1 or 2 that had ever played any kind of a ball game with family or friends, and there was hardly any that had ever done a push-up or a sit-up. Well, those things might not seem very important to a lot of people, but it's an indication of lack of sort of normal growing up.
My name is Brandon Christopher Young, and I'm 12 years old. I started playing goalball 2 years ago. I will be playing goalball as long as I can.
I've been playing goalball for 4 years. Started in 1988. I came out playing goalball just because some friends of mine were playing. Didn't think I'd like the game, but after a couple weeks of pain and getting tired every time I hit the court, it just became something that I liked doing, and I've been playing ever since.
I love playing goalball is because it's a team sport. You can work together with people, and it's just, you get a power of a group working together to achieve a specific goal. And I'm a very assertive person, so it being on a sport field, a court, it's just a powerful way to make a statement and to be part of a team. You know, playing basketball and softball is just not the easiest thing for a visually impaired person to do. But goalball, it lets you travel. You can never take that aspect away. I've traveled halfway around the world with it, but then it's the athletic assertiveness. You're allowed to not scream and holler at people, get out of my way, but you can be positively assertive on the court. Throw the ball as fast as you can, block the ball, you know, and then get to know people that you would ordinarily have never even dreamed of meeting.
Ah, c'est pas le good game, moi, ça, c'est pas une partie. Pas une partie, voilà. Ah, comment les boys, on va t'apprendre. Ça prend les boys, ça prend les boys. Comment on va dire un good game?
What's the score? 3-2. Play. Man, not with the ball is like left. Play. Right, to Korea.
Substitution, Quebec. 24, 6. Okay.
Substitution, Alberta. Okay, got a substitution, Alberta, 24 for 55. Actually, it's right off.
Substitution, Quebec. 20 in, 6 out.